Hi, I'm shooting an episode for Dear Credibility Expert. We put this on YouTube. If you went to youtube.com/, credibility nation, I do essentially answer one to two questions a week in 10 minutes focused on credibility. And specifically, this week, the question is going to be focusing on accountability. And I guess the answer is I don't exactly know what I'm going to say. So what I thought I'll do is we'll ask the question. I'll start moving forward, and we'll see where it rides. I did some two very fascinating surveys on LinkedIn, and I want to just share. I want to share those with you. Let's get going. I am very excited about today's Dear Credibility Expert. This is one of those where the questions actually came from me thinking about accountability, and I ran two surveys on LinkedIn. And when I ran the first one, I realized, man, I needed to create the second one. All right. So the first survey, and I'll try to put the links to the surveys in the social media where it's sharing. The first survey was, how accountable are you? And are you either accountable by yourself? Does a coach help you? Does a friend, family, or team member help you? And or do you not focus on accountability? And there actually was 3% doesn't focus on accountability. What was interesting is 61% of those that responded said that they were accountable by themselves. And so the question is, are you accountable by yourself, or more importantly, how accountable do you need to be credible? So I think that's the question: is how accountable do you need to be credible? And so when 61% said they were accountable by themselves, I realized I needed to ask the second question. The second question is, how often do those you work with deliver what they say they'll do when they say it? And I put in the numbers 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%. And the shocker to me at the moment is only 11% said 100% of the time. So this is really interesting. 61% of people said that they were accountable to themselves. And now looking at other people, only 11% said that those around them were 100% accountable. So that's interesting, because accountability, if you say you're going to do something and deliver what you say, that is integrity. So the implication is that only 11% of the people that people work with have full integrity in terms of delivering what they say they're going to do when they're going to say it. Now, we did a survey a year-ish ago where we talked about what do people feel about others' credibility. And there was somewhere around 52% of people were overall listed as credible. And that's interesting, because 11% of people delivering what they say they're going to deliver on time is a really low number. 100% time, really low number. So I would say that from an integrity perspective, I guess you don't need to be, and this is empirical evidence, you don't need to be 100% of every time you say you're going to do something you deliver. God, that sounds so bad to say. So let me rephrase that. If you want to stand out above the crowd, if you want to be seen as someone who's credible, you want to do something that's absolutely against what everyone's talking about. You want to be in that 89 percentile is not. You want to be increasing the values of actually 100% of the time. If you actually say you're going to do something, you're going to deliver something. And so how do you do that? What's interesting is this concept of accountability. If you have something you want to do, you want to accomplish, one of the benefits of a Weight Watchers program is you get an accountability partner. When you work in teams of companies, you can be accountability partners. The benefit just came back from the Marshall Goldsmith's 100 Coaches organization. He has a really interesting approach, which is your daily questions. And the daily questions really work when you have an accountability partner. So the question I have is, how come 61% of people say that they are accountable to themselves, where if 61% say they're accountable to themselves and only 11% of those are actually truly 100% accountable, there's a disconnect here, right? So, I would say when possible, on things that you have choices. If you're going to make statements like, I will do something and I'm going to do it on this sort of time and make it happen, I'm going to encourage you, if you say it, actually deliver. Now, how do you make sure you deliver it? Well, you can keep a calendar system, make stuff happen. You could also have an accountability partner. One of the things that happened in the daily questions is I picked up, or somebody was looking for an accountability partner, and I said, yes, I'll do that. And you know what's interesting is we're not giving feedback on the results we're delivering. What we're doing is we're actually just keeping each other accountable to deliver. Right. So what often happens, I had this conversation with the mastermind we're running. And what often happens when people create accountability partners, they're also creating judges. So let's have an accountability partner, and let's also judge the quality of the stuff you're delivering. I'm going to encourage you to separate the two. If you have an accountability partner, the goal of the accountability partner is to deliver what you say you're going to do. Because as a human, if you say you're going to do something, something comes up and you justify to yourself, if no one else is watching or paying attention, this is, by the way, lack of internal integrity. You justify to yourself why you didn't get it done, or why something else became more important, or why something else happened. If you have an accountability partner and you're just checking the box, yes or no, I delivered, yes, we didn't deliver, no, that's different than having somebody who's your accountability partner who's also judging what you're delivering. Those are two separate things. So if you want to have an increased amount of integrity, and we're just going to say integrity from the perspective of what you say you're going to do, you actually do, then find accountability partners that will, when you make a promise, that will help you deliver that promise. And if it's a joint thing that you're doing together, that would be great. And keep the notion of judging. So a judgment-free a judgment-free zone, keep that separate than the actual accountability of making stuff happen. And so based on the results I'm seeing, and let me go back and just read the numbers that exist at the moment, and they actually may change over time. The survey was, how often do those you work with deliver what they say they'll do when they say they do it? So on the 25%, or we'll start at 100%, it was 11%. 75% of the time, 39%. 50% of the time. So what they say, they only deliver 50% of the time, they say 50%. And 25% of the time is 20%. So what this is saying is that 50% of the time, those people you're working with are only delivering 50% of their promises. To me, that kind of seems shameful. And so I'm going to encourage you to find accountability partners and to work with them to make sure they're keeping you accountable and you them accountable. Now, you could separate out the judge thing somewhere else so you can actually say, hey, did I do a good job? Did I actually work, or did I just do the work? And it depends. What you need to do now is make sure you construct the right promises and the right deliverables. Anyhow, I hope you found this useful. I'm going to reread this. I want to actually come up with a really fascinating article that comes out with the fact that most people say 61% of people say they are accountable to themselves, and only 11% actually are accountable 100% of the time. And so, if you want to be credible, I would encourage you to find ways to be accountable, not just to yourself, but to be accountable to others. And doing it yourself doesn't seem like the right way to go. Hope you found this useful. Have yourself a great day. See you at the next episode of Dear Credibility Expert. I'm not convinced. I think I did a good summary of that. I'm not convinced I need to do another summary. What I would say is for those that end up joining Credibility Nation or part of Credibility Nation, we actually have Accountability Mondays. What got me thinking about this originally is how few people show up for Accountability Mondays. And so whether or not you do it through Credibility Nation or somewhere else, I'm gonna suggest to you that what we do, it's Mondays, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and we spend a half hour. And all we do is you actually state publicly. First, you start off with your CPOP, like that customer point of possibilities, but then you state, here's what I said last time. I did it, yes or no. Here's what I'm doing this time. No judgment. You're being accountable to yourself. And if you, and now people pay lots of money to have coaches help them with accountability. If you want to jump in, Credibility Nation is very, very, very inexpensive. If you want to jump into Credibility Nation and be able to have Accountability Mondays, I actually look forward to seeing you. Now, let me know if you have any questions. If what you do, love to hear from you. What do you do for accountability? Specifically, how do you go out of your way to make sure you're accountable? And once again, if you're part of the 61% and you do it yourself, you're, according to other people, generically speaking, you're only accountable 11% of the time. You only deliver what you say you're going to do 50% of the time. So there's definitely a disconnect here. Would love to see more people be credible. Would love to see you be credible and accountable with that level of integrity. Thanks. Take care. Bye now.